Hello everyone, this is Lumerion and we are back with another KZ product in tow. And no, it's not the one you're thinking about. Bet y'all wanted to see this, didn't ya? Because alongside rapid firing earphones, KZ have also dabbled into the world of truly wireless headsets, actually. And today we have the KZ-Z1, a budget true wireless set that comes in at a cheap price and hopefully will bring the KZ DNA into the wireless world. So let's see what it can do in this review of the KZ-Z1. Well, it is a KZ after all, and that means you get a white cardboard box as usual. This one's actually a little nicer though. The cardboard, you can see it has a bit of a texture. Yeah, I can feel it. And gone is the render of the product in the front. It's now just a KZ logo. And actually this KZ logo has a bit of shine if you can see it. On the side is, like basically a sticker with the specifications on it. And in some writing in the back, this one has a bit of a scuffed printing. I guess the cardboard doesn't play well with the ink that they use. So slide out the top, iPhone box style. You'll see a variety of instruction manuals and leaflets in a cardboard sleeve. So let me see. You've got your instruction manual. It's basically like a quick start guide. It has like illustrations for you to for easy reading, and it's also printed in a variety of languages. I see English, Chinese, Japanese, Korean, and even Russian. So they've got their bases covered, I guess. What else? You've got this little card for I guess a instruction in video form. It's a QR code. You've got some safety warnings, I guess, also printed in a variety of languages. There we go. And then you have, I guess, the warranty terms card. Again, 5 languages. So again, KZ got their bases covered. Oh yeah, there's another thing. Regulatory information. I guess you have to include this because it's a Bluetooth product. So there we go. Lots and lots of stuff, but it's printed in quite alright English actually. It's not the type that is funny, but it's semi-decent compared to other English manuals. Below the instruction manual layer, we finally get the KZ-Z1 charging case, which presumably has the Z1 in it, and a small partition which contains the accessories. So inside, you have a variety of ear tips. Quite an assortment. So you have this standard shape, which comes in small, medium, and large sizes. They have a shorter stem as usual because these true wireless IMs, they have stubbier nozzles. And you have this more bulbous type of ear tip. I think I might have lost the other sizes for this type of ear tip. To be honest, I don't remember since it's been a while since I had the KZ-Z1. But don't worry, these aren't great for the Z1. Heck, they aren't good at all. Just ignore them. Then you get this small little USB cable, and it's micro USB. Yeah, which by this point is basically ancient. So the KZ-Z1 has a squarish case. It's made of this matte black plastic that feels alright in the hand. It is quite bulbous and larger than a typical true wireless case, especially compared to the Moondrop Nekocakes or the Moondrop Sparks. They sort of have the same width, but again, the Z1 feels a bit more. It has a bigger sort of form factor, I feel, especially compared to like the Samsung Galaxy Buds Plus. You know, the Z1 does feel like quite the bigger thing. So the Z1 case, it has a bit of a slit here for you to sort of use as leverage and to open it up, but it is kind of hard to identify where the hinge is when you're actually trying to open it. It kind of looks like one of those makeup boxes actually. And then to the side of it is the micro USB port.
You know, I know that this saved KZ some money, and hopefully like the savings are passed down to us consumers, but come on, would it have costed them much more to just make the KZ1 case use USB-C?
And this angle makes it so that the cable plugs into the side of a hinge and it's like off center. Definitely form before function design here. So of course, inside of the case you will see the Z1 nestled in their inserts, and you know, so there's an LED on the case. Let me try and trigger that for you. There you go. There's an LED on the case for battery indication. It shines green, yellow, and red for the 3 stages of battery in the case. And here are the KZ Z1s in the flesh. And as you can see, KZ basically just took the mold of one of their wired IEMs and basically just stuffed true wireless components into it. You may have seen this housing in the CCA CA16 sister brand model, and recently the KZ Pro. This mold, as with most KZ housings after 2017, are very comfortable to wear. The KZ1 goes on my ears with ease, and the little bits that's sticking out, it will hook into your ears better, making the Z1 also good for sports activities. Although the lack of any sweat or water resistance will probably temper that. I mean, like, I think you can see the seams on this plastic. And the material is cheap, it's light, and it's hollow. When you hold the KZ1, you will notice the cheapness, much like the price you paid for it. It's also slightly magnetic, as you can see. Now the Z1 has a painted, you know, a golden looking nozzle, but it's a painted nozzle. This is just plastic, I don't think it's metal. But it makes the Z1 look a little nicer, even if it is still, you know, kind of plasticky. And since the nozzle is standard size, the KZ1 is basically compatible with all of your traditional ear tips, and even the biggest of tips fit pretty well into the case. Now, the front of the Z1 makes for a very nice and big touch surface. Unfortunately, the touch sensor of the Z1 is crap. It fails to register touches unless you are very precise with your touch, and when you're on a shaky road or like walking on the streets and you just put your hands on your ears to control the volume, to like control place pause and stuff, accuracy won't be your forte when fiddling with this thing. There are also LEDs on the Z1, which are red, indicating charging within the case. Yeah, I'm gonna have to bring the exposure up quite a bit for you to see this. They also, let me take them out. So hopefully you can see they also flash red and blue whilst they are pairing. Although when in use they will not flash periodically like that, so you won't have to wear like flashing things in your ears. And if you haven't seen this, I'm bringing the exposure up, but you don't need to worry about that because the LEDs on this, they aren't that bright, especially like in outdoor sunlight, so don't worry.
The pairing process of these KZ1 is bog standard for Bluetooth accessories. You turn on Bluetooth on the phone, you take the Z1s out of the case, it appears on your phone's list, you click it, and bam, you're connected.
There are also voice prompts on the KZZ1. The woman inside here will say,
Connected. Disconnected. Pairing.
but as you can hear, the voice is very compressed and low quality. And then the announcer has a thick accent, so probably trying her best impression English. I mean, bless her heart, but it still sounds weird. She will also say
High performance mode.
and
Standard mode.
when you toggle the gaming mode on and off.
Speaking of which, the KZZ1 does have a low latency gaming mode. With the gaming mode off and using the delay test app on my phone, the KZZ1 hovers at around 200 to 300 milliseconds of delay. With the gaming mode on, it goes to about 80 to 100 milliseconds. It's an improvement, but still, if you're doing gaming, I would suggest getting a wired set. Also be noted that in this gaming mode, the KZZ1 is prone to having audio artifacts and glitches, whereas this doesn't really happen in the standard mode. Oh, and the battery for this KZZ1, it's bad. It gets about 2.5 hours on a charge, which, even though the case gives it quite a few more charges, these are still quite feeble numbers for a true wireless set. I'm pretty sure if you have the gaming mode on, it'll run the battery down even faster. And then in a few years, as this battery wears, who knows how long this thing will last. However, it does use this battery to the fullest potential, as the KZZ1 is easily, by far, the loudest TWS set that I have. This thing has volumes that eclipse that of wired earphones, let alone its true wireless competitors. If you're someone who has always thought that these true wireless sets have lower volumes than the wired ones, well, the KZZ1 is here to buck that trend. This thing practically flexes on other true wireless sets for volume. For a TWS that is about 25 to 30 bucks, I guess there's not much else you can expect to do but play music. The gaming mode is a nice bonus, but of course it has no IP rating, no ANC, no transparency mode, or any accompanying app as expected. So the Bluetooth chip inside the KZZ1, it's not from Qualcomm, so it's just some no-M OEM thing, I guess. It doesn't support aptX or any higher quality codecs, just SBC and AAC. But for my testing, this didn't hurt the sound quality, so it's fine. Yeah, the mic on the KZZ1, it's basically for show. It's barely intelligible to callers, and it makes your voice muted, tinny, bloated, and distorted. Don't bother. Here's an audio sample if you want to hear that travesty. So this is a test recording from the KZZ1's microphone. Alright, so before we get into the sound, some prerequisites. I'm going to be using the standard mode for testing instead of the gaming mode because we are listening to music after all, we're not doing gaming on this. And for ear tips, I'll be using these SpinFit CP360s, size medium. They fit well on the KZZ1 and are comfortable to my ears. Although, like I said, the Z1s pretty much work with all conventional ear tips, and the sound doesn't change that drastically with tip rolling, so just use whatever is comfortable for you. And with all that out of the way, let's get into the sound of the KZZ1. So the KZZ1 is very much the spitting image of the KZ Chi-Fi V-shaped sound, wrapped in truly wireless form. So starting with the bass, well, it's a KZIM, so the bass is big, bombastic, and boisterous as expected. Coupled with the sheer volume this thing can push through, the Z1 creates an impactful bass presentation with even a good amount of rumble to it. there's a soft texture, and the K is somewhat long and extended. On some songs it sounds fine, on others it might be a little sluggish. For a true wireless IEM, the KZZ1 has the strongest bass out of my true wireless sets. However, this approach does come with its fair share of weaknesses. So the bass bleed, it's very present. It's not unbearable, but it muddles your low and mids a little bit. And although it pushes the boundaries of bass quantity for true wireless sets, its quality is lacking. It's quite one note in its delivery, and the driver still seems to bottom out in the deepest registers of bass. Still though, the fact that it delivers a satisfying amount of bass is quite praiseworthy on its own already. Now, the mids of the KZZ1s, they are recessed. Not much of a surprise here. Vocals sit the furthest away from the mix, followed by instruments and melodies. These mids are given a bit of warmth, but not to a point of being close to an earbud sound like the Moondrop Nekocake. For a KZ, this is still a decent handling of the mid-range. It's got a timbre that's a bit too sharp to the detriment of vocals and lighter music, but to the advantage of heavier music genres. Certainly, the KZZ1's mids are more suited to the like of EDM and electronic music listeners. Yeah, the highs of KZ IEMs for me are never really the star of the show. They're either super uneven or peaky, or they are a little under the water and muffled. Luckily, whether by intention or by accident, the KZZ1 has somewhat struck a decent balance here. The treble range of the KZZ1 certainly still has unevenness and even graininess present. It's quite dry as well. However, what peaks there are, fortunately added sparkle to that which needs it, such as stuff like cymbals, and it gives some much needed air to this bass forward sound. It's not perfect, I mean, come on, it's a KZ we're talking about, but it certainly has its moments, especially in some rhythm songs and metal, with a grungy nature of this treble. It gels well with the equally grimy guitar riffs and metallic synths. The soundstage of the KZZ1 is standard fare, not too wide but not narrow either. And soundstage height is, as usual, almost non-existent. For technicalities, the Z1 actually does quite well at handling macro details. It really shows it off. And I think that this is a trait that most KZ products share. Good macro details, but the other stuff is just a bit too unrefined. Although in this case, for the price, the KZZ1 with its good handling of macro details does give it a sense that it has more detail retrieval abilities than usual. But the downside is that the resolution, it's only alright, and there's a coarseness that I'm starting to think doesn't come from the tuning, but rather the drivers that the KZs are using. And the imaging here is very messy. In a comparison between the KZZ1 and the Moondrop Nekocake, for build quality, if you thought the Nekocake's plastic exterior is a little chintzy, oh boy, wait till you get a look at the KZZ1. The glossy plastic here is thin, hollow, and if your ears produce a lot of wet earwax, boy, it's going to look all greasy and slimy. You can definitely see the price difference in terms of build quality for sure with the KZZ1. Like, the feature set, it's also a bit different. The Nekocake has an only okay, but at least it's there ANC, and it has an accompanying app, whilst the Z1 has no accompanying app, but it does include a gaming mode. Sound quality wise, the Nekocake is a bit warmer and less sibilant than the Z1. Again, it's close to earbud levels of mid-range work well with lighter and more melodic music, whereas the Z1 sound is more V-shaped and lively, though with its fair share of resonance peaking and grain. Technicalities for these two are roughly similar, but the KZ is more cavalier in showing macro details than the Nekocake. You know, when you can only scrounge up like 25, 30 something dollars and you want a true wireless set, it's a hard bar to clear for even established brands, let alone like a chi-fi one like KZ. And you can clearly see the price reflected in the build of the KZ-Z1 and the horrendous microphones, illustrating that this is still an experimental product line from KZ. But for what it is, you are getting a very nice fit, great compatibility with traditional ear tips, a gaming mode, and a very fun sound that mostly escapes the pitfalls which even wired KZ sets often make. So in a world where people are still readily spending this kind of money to buy AirPods knockoffs, you know what? If you're thinking about doing that, you might as well buy this KZ-Z1. It's great sound for the price that it asks of you. The one thing that I wish KZ could improve upon though is the battery life. If there's anything to still complain about in this price point, and if there's anything that's a deal breaker for this thing, it's that 2.5 hours is about good enough if you use it only on your commute, but it's not good enough compared to every other competitor in this space. Alright, that's the end of this review. Thank you for watching. Like it if you like the video, subscribe if you want to see more. You can also donate to my Patreon if you so want to. Otherwise, yeah, again, thank you for watching, and I hope to see you in the next review. This is Lumerion, signing off.